Good morning, Andrew. How are you doing?
Hey, buddy, I remember you from, didn't we talk on Zone, right?
Yeah, we did Zone 414. Yeah, so it's a real
Cool.
pleasure to get to talk to you, especially on a different genre. This is a way different film, so it's really excites me when filmmakers really spread their wings and don't really stick to a certain genre. Tell me a little bit about this film, about Sunrise. It was really interesting, a lot of fun. It was almost hypnotic at times with the way the ambient setting was put together.
Yeah, for sure. What would you like to know?
And let's start with it in general, just why this project was so alluring to you, because we've seen vampires so much through history, of course, but this one is very specific, very different, a very more urban legendary, specific to an area than the fangs and the blood that we're used to.
Yeah, well, the reason, let me see. I mean, the reason why I took it on was one of the producers, you know, there's the guys from Zone, one of them was Mark Cuffham, who it was his kind of baby, and then my partner Martin Brennan took it over, and it had gone through various lives, and it attracted various actors before and directors and things, and didn't quite make it. And I tend to kind of gravitate towards things that already have a degree of traction. I mean, initially it was like somewhat like Near Dark or The Crow, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I like the whole anti-hero man with no name. It's like a Western, but with a horror edge to it. The vampire thing, I never really, the only thing with the vampire thing which I responded to is just focused that the vampirism is an addiction. So this is a guy who's addicted to blood. This is like a junkie, So that's what got me in there. And it was like, okay, I get that. And so this guy is in this purgatory. He's gone through this extreme trauma and he's treating it with this addiction, which he has to overcome, which he does by meeting this family that have moved into his home, and it re-triggers that humanity, So he goes from a man in purgatory and in trauma that is caught in this kind of, he's caught because he's in resentment and he wants revenge for his wife, and he's caught in this addiction to pain, until he meets this family and the love that this family share and the innocence and the little girl, like it triggers it starts to heal him, and then he has this desire to protect his family,
Yeah,
because he couldn't protect his wife, so that's what it's all, that those story elements and that the journey, the arc of that character is what drew me to the movie.
Yeah, and what a way to tell that story, because it's sold to some degree as there's a creature of the night, but Guy Pearce's character, Reynolds, right off the bat, we're like, that's the bad guy, and in good portion. But yeah, it really shows you that aspect of humanity that we see in excuse me, Fallon's character, and really kind of rotates everything, and you see him more of have his human side while he's with the family and trying to protect them, and then that monster comes out whenever he's facing face to face with this other group of people who are really taking over this town. Tell me a little bit about working with Guy Pearce again, and what he brings to the table as kind of really the real antagonist of the film.
Well, he's great, and we had a real good relationship from Zone, and he loved Zone. And this character of Reynolds was one of the best I've read, and so it was just very easy, I mean, it was just very easy, and then the collaboration with Alex and Guy and myself, and we just had a very easy very open, experimental approach to the material. Yeah, I mean, Reynolds is the human manifestation of the evil, you know, of the fear, you know, untreated, you know. The red coat is like the visual, is like the metaphor, you know, but Reynolds is it, you know, in the movie, he's the monster. So I mean, so Guy gets to play a monster, yeah. Who doesn't want to play a monster? Fallon is not the monster, you know. He's like, he's like the victim, you know. He's been victimized and he's got to overcome that, you know. And he's been victimized by this monster, Reynolds. But in the same time, Reynolds has been victimized by his mom, you know. So it was just a really interesting character, Reynolds and the family. In a way, I remember saying, I can't remember whether I said it to Guy, but in my mind, there was versions of the family from Texas Chainsaw, you know, how messed up and toxic and insidious they were. That definitely had an influence on me, you know, because it's a really insidious, toxic family. Reynolds is just trying to get validation from his mom, essentially, you know. And he's like a kid, you know. And he's got, you know, at the end of the movie, he's starting on his journey of growth, you know. So yeah, it was just great material for Guy to sink his forgive the pun, sink his teeth into, right? You know, it was brilliant. Like, it was such a gift to work with him and Alex on this. I love working with these actors, and they all bring their own DNA, you know. I mean, you know, so they affect the movie, you know. You got to let them bring their thing, you know. And it's like, we really kind of were able to be quite experimental on this film, you know, and develop the characters and change things as we went along and just feel our way through it, you know. That's what we did. And I think because of that, we were able to kind of interpret the material in a pretty original way, right?
Yeah, it was very different than what I had seen before, and I think that's what really kept me glued, because I didn't know what to expect next. And also, you said the setting you set was very interesting. It was a small town, but it almost, the way you had some of the scenes with a lot of like fog and smoke and darkness and really interesting tones, really almost made it feel like a bubble, like this is its own world. And I kind of like that, because it almost feels like it could happen anywhere, but you don't know about it because it's so secluded. It's so specific to this story in this area. What were the conversations into some of those scenes, into some of the settings and the ambience that you wanted to set up?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's very much an emotional kind of world, you know. It's very atmospheric, and the world kind of captures the emotion of the story. It's very dark and brooding and moody, and trying to make it universal, while at the same time it is set somewhere in the Pacific Northwest in the United States, but it could happen anywhere in the world, you know, in any secluded community. It's a movie, and this is the thing, you know, it's not like a documentary. It's not some social realist piece. This is a movie, and it's a genre movie, and that's what I do. And a big part of these movies is creating these distinct emotional worlds that complement the story. So I want the audience to just be immersed immediately in this world, and it's specifically designed for the storyline at hand, you know, and inspired by it, you know. So it's like all the fog and the smoke and the mist and the rain, and it's like, it's almost like it seeps into you. It's like this fear is like it infects the community. And the red coat is just like a representative of the fear, you know. It's a visual representative of the fear, and it's almost like then this guy who becomes addicted to blood, he goes through so much trauma that you become addicted to it. You can't get out of it. You can't detach from it, you know. You get caught in it, you know. So that's the way I interpreted the material in this whole vampiric revenge tale or whatever. We just kind of like approached it from a pretty original point of view, and it all was about what is relatable to the human condition. I mean, because there was political overtones in the movie, you know. There was so many different things in the initial script: politics, race, you know, environment. There was so much going on that you just had to kind of condense it into one kind of moody, atmospheric kind of tonal piece. That's what we did, you know, as a group. You know, I love to collaborate, and everybody contributed to that. And as you build a house, you know, you find the way, you know. It's not necessary you just do the blueprint initially, because it changes, you know. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, actually, and it does a great job at leading into my next question, because you talked about relatability, and you talked about some of these themes that you kind of needed to funnel down, and it really felt like you did that with Crystal Yu's character, with Yan, as she's now struggling to essentially be a single mother, trying to keep this farm together, and persevering and dealing with obvious racism and just a community that really wants her family out. She just lost her husband, but there's like inner strength in her throughout the film that you can tell that she's never leaving, and she's going to fight for her kids, and she's going to stand up for her family no matter what. And I thought that she did such a phenomenal job. Can you talk about working with her and Yan's character a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, Crystal did a great job. I mean, she had a big I mean, that was a big undertaking for her to take on, you know. She really carried what she did, and she really pulled it off, you know. I mean, that speech towards the end or whatever, I mean, I gave her the freedom to rewrite that, to make it specific to Chinese people, because Crystal's Chinese, and although she's lived in London since she was about 11. Yeah, I mean, she represents the matriarch, the strong female, which, you know, there's a lot of strong females in my movies, and well, that's the only I don't think I could. I'd have a very hard time portraying women as weak. I just couldn't do it. Unless it's just not, it just doesn't appeal to me. I don't see them that way. So yeah, so that's why. So she has to go up against these two, Fallon and Reynolds, and like hold her own, not just as characters but also as actors. You know, I mean, Alex has done Alex is 32. He's done a huge amount of work. Guy's done endless amounts of work, and you know, Crystal really held her own there. But in terms of the context of the movie itself, you know, Yan has lost her husband, but not her whole family. Fallon, on the other hand, has lost his whole family. You know, at one stage, Fallon's wife was pregnant, but we decided not to go ahead with that, you know. So it's a chance. He relates to her trying to protect her family like he couldn't protect his, you know. And there's a bond there, you know. There's a trauma bond. and he's able to help her, and that then heals him. You know, he's then able to let go of this resentment and this rage that he's been holding on to, that keeps him in this purgatory, and keeps him in this addiction to the blood, to the fear, to the pain. That's what the blood is. That's what the red coat represents. It's just like fear and pain. And he can let go of that, you know, because he sees that this woman is, you know, the integrity and the strength, the inner strength of this woman is unshakable. And right at the end, as you see, there's an awareness. She's aware of this red coat, this fear that's out there. It could be anywhere. This movie could be set anywhere in the world at any time, in any community. It's universal, but she is aware that this disease is out there, the disease of fear. But she's able to, she's not intimidated by it. You know, she's not intimidated by it. Like, so there's very few people, you know, that's a sign of a really strong person, you know. And where she gets that from is in her faith, you know. So it's like, you see that, and again, this is actually coming to me as I'm saying this to you, but this is the beauty of making things, you know. You don't even realize half what you're doing half the time. It's organic. But she very much is connected to her faith, and is quite spiritual, you know, with that Eastern spiritual philosophy or whatever, and that really nourishes her. Whereas with the Reynolds family, they're very much puritanical, hard-nosed, religious type, and it's just full of fear, and it's toxic. And maybe, you know, that's another thing that was in the script, because it came from Northern Ireland, is the religious aspect between the hard-nosed religion and the spiritual. It's a very spiritual movie, you know. It's like, that's the solution, that is the way out of, whereas the hard-nosed religious kind of fear is the disease, you know. And that's what the Reynolds family cling to. That's what kept all the troubles, not just in Northern Ireland, but other parts of the world, like in the Middle East right now. It's all this hard-nosed religious fear, you know. And that's what it is. And like, Jan is this kind of spirit, you know. She's like this strong spirit, and Crystal pulled that off, right? Didn't she do it? What a role, like, you know.
Oh, no,
what a role to have to do, and she did a great job. She really is, like, she's, you know, she's the one who really kind of showed, like, I think I'm sure this is going to do Crystal like great things for her. It shows what level of an actress she is, you know.
Yeah, I specifically love the scene of her at the mini mart where she confronts where she confronts Reynolds, and it really goes toe to toe with him. She came off very, very strong, and definitely it really set the tone really for what we were going to see for the rest of the film. Andrew, thank you so much for your time. As always, it is a pleasure to talk with you. Congratulations on the film. I thought it was very well done. I hope it's very well received, because you have a lot of great talent on there, kind of like we're just talking, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
My pleasure, mate. Great to see you again, Manny. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, take care.